Well, so I can finally say that Tata Motors has finally entered the compact SUV space with the all-new Tata Nexon. Now, essentially, this car rivals the Maruti Suzuki Vitara Brezza as well as the Ford EcoSport. But the big question is that has this car been worth the wait, or has Tata Motors missed the boat? So that's the question we'll answer today on the show. In terms of looks and styling, it seems that the Tata Bolt hatchback went to the gym, put on some steroids and came back looking very muscular and totally hulked up. Key styling elements include that floating roof at the back as well as that curving roofline, and those rear tail lamps are something that you can simply not miss. Overall, even though it might not go down with the conservative taste of Indian buyers, it is a design which simply stands out and looks very striking indeed. Well, so if you remember when we tested the Tata Bolt as well as the Tata Zest, our biggest critique of the interior was the fact that there was no space to keep your odds and ends. There was only one bottle hole over here, and Tata Motors, it seems, has heard our criticism and they've overloaded this cabin with a lot of places to keep your odds and ends. You of course get this huge tray over here which is really very deep, and you can actually keep not one, not two, but at least 10 cell phones over here. You can also keep your fruity beverages and a host of other items over here, and you also get a little tray over here ahead of the galley where you can keep your cell phone, wallet and other paraphernalia. But the biggest place to keep all those odds and ends is the glove box. It's a massive glove box. It's an air-cooled glove box, which means that on those long highway trips it will keep your Diet Coke cans very cold. And you also get a tray which is removable, which means that it really is very well thought out, and a lot of attention to detail has been paid by Tata Motors in terms of the storage capacity. The door bins also are generally large enough to house those, not these small bottles, but those big bottles from your home. Well, but the biggest party trick in terms of utility places is the fact that Tata Motors has taken a leaf out of Rolls-Royce's book, or they've taken a leaf out of their bigger brother Land Rover's book, and they have a place in the door pad where you can keep a small size umbrella in. And even though it doesn't go all the way into the door pad and it is a bit of a stiff fix, it is quite a cool feature nonetheless. Well, talking about party tricks, the other party trick on this car is the fact that you don't really need a proper key to start it off. You can start it off by your smartwatch. Well, okay, so you can't start it off by your smartwatch. What you can do is you can use this key fob kind of device. Now, Tata Motors hasn't given you an official key fob. They've put that key fob chip in this watch over here, and you only need to wear it and start this car off or drive it off or switch it off. And it's a pretty cool thing, but unfortunately, it does not read out the time. So is it really cool or is it a bit of a gimmick? You can comment below in the section over here and figure it out for yourself. Well, that's not the end of the features list. You of course get a host of other features, including the modes which you can drive this engine on. So you can choose from City, Eco or Sport mode. And Tata Motors has also given it a host of other apps which make sitting in this car a very cool affair. And the best part is the Harman stereo system, which is definitely ahead of both its other main rivals when it comes to overall sound quality. Well, but that's not all. You'll also enjoy these nice and comfy seats. They really are very relaxing to sit in. The cushioning is spot on. Neither is it too soft, neither is it too firm. You get these small side bolsters on the sides, which means that if you do decide to push this car into corners, these seats should hold you well. And even the support for the lower back is very good, which means that after a long day behind the steering wheel, you will come out of this car rather refreshed. So overall, in terms of comfort as well as overall styling and features, this car really is top class. Well, so it is top class in terms of features, but what about quality? Well, I'm happy to report that overall perceived quality is at par with rivals. Yes, it is a bit patchy in some areas, like the plastic over here for the cover of this little lid, but overall it is at par with other rivals and par for course for this segment and at this price point. Well, so the sloping roofline on the outside doesn't really pose any problems when it comes to headroom on the inside. As you can see, I'm sitting up pretty up straight, and even then I have place above my head. It's about 2 or 3 inches above my head. So if you are about 6 feet, you should not really have too many issues sitting over here. Now the front seat, as always, has been adjusted for my height, and my height for reference is 5'10", and even then I have loads of knee room. There's place below the front seats where I can stretch my feet, so sitting in these seats isn't an issue at all. It really is a very comfortable and relaxing place to be in. Under thigh support is very good. Cushioning on these seats is really good, and the backrest angle is absolutely spot on, and there's also loads of support for your lower back. So really it's a very good place to spend time in the second row of the Nexon seats. The only minor issue is that because of that raising waistline on the outside, this window over here does tend to rise up a bit, which means that you do feel like you are hemmed in a bit. And also the C-pillar is really very chunky, which means that it doesn't feel as airy or as bright as the EcoSport's cabin, which remember has that small glass area at the back and gives it a very airy feel. So in that sense it is slightly behind, but yes, in terms of seat comfort it is definitely ahead. And the other issue is that it's not a very wide car at the back, so having 2 occupants is better than having 3 abreast. 3 will fit into this car, but the 3rd occupant will really have to jostle and fight for space, especially for shoulder room over in the back seat. So really best for 2 and maybe a small kid. But when it comes to overall seat comfort, seat cushioning and overall under thigh support, this car is ahead of both its other main rivals. Well, so what you need to do is have 2 occupants over here in the back and pull out this armrest, keep a couple of Diet Cokes over here and enjoy that long highway trip. Well, in terms of boot capacity, the Nexon offers you a boot of 350 litres, and if you decide to flip the rear seats down, it offers you a boot of 690 litres, which is comparable with its other rivals and also good enough to actually shift your home in. Now, it is a well-shaped boot, it is a very square boot, which means that you can actually load an entire washing machine with its packing into it, and that's exactly what Tata Motors set out to do when they designed this car. The only thing is that there is a bit of a hump, but it's not too much, so you will of course have to put your bag in and lift those bags out. But when it comes to transporting your mother-in-law's luggage back to the airport, this car is more than enough and pretty good at it. So the next one will come with 2 engine options. There's a 1.2 litre turbocharged petrol as well as a new 1.5 diesel, and both these engines make about 108 bhp of power. So in terms of power delivery, both of them are identical. But if you want performance as well as brisk acceleration when you are driving the car, then it is the diesel that you should go for. And why is that? Well, because that engine has a lot more torque available, and it also feels a lot more livelier as well as a lot more progressive when you are in its mid-range. Well, now talking about the petrol engine, it does suffer from a lot of lag. Remember, it is a turbocharged engine, so below 2000 rpm it does suffer from a lot of lag, which means that driving it in the city is a bit of a laborious exercise because you have to work around the gearbox a lot. And talking about the gearbox, it's not the slickest unit in the business. The Ford EcoSport as well as the Maruti Vitara Breza's units are definitely a lot more crisper and a lot more sportier, and this one has much longer throws and also needs a slightly heavier hand to shift in. So in isolation, the gearbox on the Nexon is decent, but yes, when compared to rivals, it is slightly on the heavier side and not as slick as them. Well, in terms of overall ride quality, the Nexon really is superb. It absolutely annihilates all the worst of worst road conditions, and it's really at very slow city speeds that some of the potholes and bumps enter the cabin. Tata Motors really is one of the better car makers in India when it comes to overall suspension tuning, and they have done a good job with the Nexon. Well, in terms of overall handling in isolation, the Nexon is pretty okay. The steering wheel offers you decent feedback, but it's not as good or as sharp as the EcoSport, and neither is it as light as the Vitara Brezza, the steering wheel that is. So it does take a little bit of effort, but it's not really very feelsome. It does have a little bit of vagueness in it, but that said, it is slightly behind both its other rivals in terms of feel as well as overall weight. So maybe that's something that Tata Motors could work on in the next version of this car. Well, while you do sit up high over here in these seats, they are perched up nicely, so you get a good view of the road ahead. This huge chunky A-pillar does mean that you have to look around it because there is a bit of a blind spot. Also because you get the controls for the side view mirrors over here, there's also a bit of a blind spot around them. And visibility from the back window also isn't the best. It's a very small window. It's also very nicely slanted, which means you don't really get too much to see if there are 3 occupants on the back. So that's something which can be a bit of an issue. But if you are parking this car into a tight space, you get a reverse parking camera in the top end version. And also the good point about the Nexon is that even the base versions come with ABS and airbags as standard. So that's something that Tata Motors has really taken care of. Safety really is paramount with Tata Motors these days, and they have done a good job with giving you safety kit even on the base version of these cars. Well, so as I said before, you can choose between economy, city as well as sport mode, and at the moment I am driving in the sport mode. Now if you do shift to economy,
City drive mode is activated.
or if you do shift to city like I have, there's a little bit of difference. There's a little bit of visible difference between these modes. You can of course choose the economy mode as well.
Economy drive mode is activated.
And the engine becomes a little hesitant, a little lazy when you're driving this mode, as the name suggests. If you drive in city mode, it's a blend of economy as well as overall sportiness. But of course, if you choose the sport mode,
Sport drive mode is activated.
then the engine does become a little more livelier, and it's only the engine which changes its character. It's nothing to do with the gearbox or with the suspension, so that's something that you need to remember. But yes, it is quite visible in terms of performance. The difference is visible, and sport mode really is the mode to choose, both on the petrol as well as diesel, if you want accelerated performance. Well, you will be completely impressed with the flat ride that the Nexon has to offer, and in that department it really has the number on both its rivals. Yes, the EcoSport as well as the Brezza simply cannot compete in terms of ride comfort with this car, and the ride comfort is also aided by these very comfortable seats. The cushioning really is excellent on these seats, and no matter what kind of speeds you're doing, highway speeds, low city speeds or intermediate speeds, this car's suspension really does take the sting out from the worst of worst road conditions. If there's one thing that the Nexon excels at, it really is ride comfort, and it's a very relaxing car for those long highway trips, because you will come out of this car absolutely, totally and completely refreshed. You won't feel tired in the least bit, simply because of these comfortable seats as well as the amazing ride. Well, the biggest hurdle when it comes to sales success for the Tata Nexon is the fact that its other rivals are very well established in the market and also have very keen fan followings. But that said, if you're on the market for a compact SUV and want something which offers you striking looks on the outside, a comfortable cabin on the inside, and offers you some unique features as well, most of which are very unique to this class, then the Nexon is a car that you should definitely go ahead and check out at a Tata Motors dealership near you. Thanks for watching this video, and it's bye for now.